Rocket Ethereal. Today my goal is to get good or die trying at Darkest Dungeon, but I'm having a hard time with it because it's absolutely kicking my ass. After about 11 hours of play, I have officially decided that this is the single most brutal game I have ever played. It absolutely spits in the face of your progression, and in fact there is only one way in which you can establish permanent progression. I have had a lot of heroes die in combat. I have had a couple of runs in which all of my heroes died. As you can see here, there's just been a lot of failure. It is extremely unforgiving because you can spend a lot of time and energy upgrading a hero's resolve level, giving them good gear, upgrading the gear that they're already wearing, and when they die, there's a chance you will lose all of it. In fact, I have amassed a pretty good collection of trinkets here, but I have lost all of the strongest trinkets I had because those characters died in a boss encounter. Now, after 11 hours, you would think I would have made some more headway, but I've only taken out 2 bosses, and only one of them was a story boss. The other one was a triggered encounter because I was curious and I managed to take it out. But in this amount of time, I have also learned a lot about the game. I think I have a pretty full understanding of what I'm doing. It's just so difficult because you can make all the best decisions in the world, but if you are unlucky enough, the game will just spit in your face and you'll have to sacrifice a run. I just had one attempt where I had a great party composition and I attempted to take out a boss and it just fell apart before I even got to the boss. I lost my bounty hunter to a death blow, and that pretty much guaranteed that I was not going to succeed. Now, first off, that permanent progression I mentioned comes in the form of your upgraded buildings. So I've actually made quite a bit of progress in upgrading my buildings. My stress relieving buildings, those being the tavern and the abbey, are almost fully upgraded, which means I have more slots to fit my heroes in so that their stress can recover. They recover more stress when they're put in here, and it's less expensive, so that's serving me pretty well. I have a fully upgraded roster now, so I can hold a maximum number of heroes at 22, and I have definitely seen every class in the game. I think I have at least one of every class present right now. I actually have a strategy for how I'm composing my roster at this point. Because one of the main game goals is to have a resolve level 6 of every hero, which I believe is the maximum. What I'm trying to do is I'm trying to have up to 2 of each class. Now, that depends heavily on the classes I actually get at the Stagecoach. I actually took 2 of the heroes that were offered to me here because I do have a number of 4 heroes available for selection every time I come back from a run. And I think that's going to be the best way to handle things. So let's go through the process that I've sort of nailed down for when I'm going to start a run. After I spend my resources, my bust, portraits, deeds, and crests on upgrading buildings, I will check out the Stagecoach and see if there's any heroes I could particularly use. And once that's done, I will sort by stress, and the selection process begins this way. I always sort by stress because I've found that it's best to bring the lowest stress heroes you possibly can on each mission. If you bring heroes that already have some stress, then they're going to reach 100 stress faster. It's more likely that they're going to suffer a stress effect, and when you've got 2 heroes with stress effects on them, your party is pretty much done. It's really that simple. They kind of compound on each other. If a character is paranoid, which is a stress effect, then they're going to talk a lot about how they're afraid that their teammates are going to turn on them, and it increases everybody else's stress. In addition, they will sometimes move of their own accord. They will not let you select their abilities. They may switch places with party members without letting you tell them whether or not they can do that, and they will reject healing often, which is terrible. So I've had a few successful runs. Most of my runs, the large majority, I have escaped or abandoned because there was just no way that I was going to get all my heroes out alive. There was no way that even if I did sacrifice 1 or 2 heroes that I was going to finish the mission. And you often have to ask yourself, is it really worth risking this hero's life in order to try to get the bonus rewards and the resolve experience for finishing a mission? And usually I have found that answer is no. So I need to pick a good run to go on here. Let's see, I'm feeling a bit optimistic, so I'm going to try to take out the easiest boss there is. I'm going to try to take out the Necromancer Apprentice. There is a great ring for that, 11 resources, which is in addition to all the resources I will find along the way, and almost 7,000 gold, which is a very hefty amount. If I succeed, that's a guaranteed profit. I will be able to restore a lot of stress with that, and I will absolutely be able to make sure that my next team is very well equipped. So in terms of selection, what I need to do is I need to make sure that I have an ideal hero for each of the 4 positions on the field. This can be a bit tricky because some classes are just not effective at some positions. Like, it would be very stupid of me to put a Hellion in the back 2 slots. They belong on the front line. Man-at-Arms has quickly proven to be one of my favorite classes because they're just durable, heavy hitters. I particularly love the Defender ability because it gives them some big protection so that they have defense against attacks, and they will stand in the way when an enemy attempts to attack the target that they are guarding. So if my squishy Vestal is suffering, I can have my Man-at-Arms here use Defender on that Vestal, and he will block all the damage for her and just take it himself. But he'll take reduced damage, so Man-at-Arms are amazing. So I am going to put the Hellion in front. Actually, not this one. I'd rather have this Hellion in front. Get out of here. Get out. Put her in front. And put the Man-at-Arms in second. Well, let's see, I need to get 2 backliners. So I've got a Plague Doctor who's good in the 3rd position, and an Arbalest who's good in the very back. Now, this particular Arbalest has what I would say is my most favorite ability in the game, Blind Fire. So I don't actually get to choose what target she hits with this, but if there is one target that is on the front and there's no other targets, she will hit that target when most of her abilities are not able to target the front enemy, so that's one benefit. Second, it has good accuracy, it has pretty good damage, not amazing, and it buffs her speed massively, which I find to be extremely useful. Speed is extremely important, even though all it determines is the order that your characters will go in when a new turn begins. As I've said, I've learned quite a bit about this game. I'm going to go into the nuances as we get into this. Now, you will only do short runs for so long. There's short, medium, and long dungeons, and all the boss ones that I've seen are medium. So this little symbol here says heroes will camp once during this quest. So camping comes in the form of firewood, and what this lets you do is when you are about to get into a big fight like the boss fight, or when your party is just looking really down, you can use firewood to camp. And the benefit to that is that all of your heroes can use their camping skills. I'll go more into detail when we actually make camp so that you can see what that looks like. In the meantime, I should be equipping some... Let's see. Should be equipping some trinkets on my heroes. Melee skills, because she doesn't really need the dodge that badly. Let's see, my Man-at-Arms. Where is he? There he is. Trinkets are really interesting because there's no trinket that will just straight up give you a benefit. They will always take something away from you. Like in this case, I get bonus accuracy, but I lose some dodge skill. And Man-at-Arms is really hardy, so I'm just going to give him a ton of accuracy, and I will only lose half as much dodge as I get accuracy from that, so that's pretty effective. Now, there's some stats that don't bottom out, like dodge. Dodge will bottom out at 0, but it won't go into the negative values. Speed, on the other hand, if you have too much of a speed detriment, your character will have negative speed, which is obviously terrible unless you don't mind them going last for whatever reason. I haven't really found a lot of situations in which I'm okay with that. I don't like that. I'm going to give this Plague Doctor some Blight skill because he has a very valuable Blight ability that hits both of the targets in back. That is going to be extremely useful against the stress-inducing skeletons that I will be facing in this particular dungeon. So we'll give him that. And then I just need to outfit my Arbalest. And the Arbalest is going to get some bonus damage because she has 0 dodge, so she's not actually losing anything whatsoever by taking this damage stone. And I don't think I want to give her anything else. No, she's just going to go with that one trinket because I think that's going to be best. So we get to provisions, and usually I find that 23 to 2,500 gold is about ideal for making sure that your party has everything they need for a medium length run. Remember, you're preparing for the worst case scenario, so you get more of everything than you actually need. My rule with medium length missions is 20 food, and the reason there's 20 food is because of hunger prompts, which will suck 4 food away from you, and anticipation of camping. The most food you can use while camping is 8, and I believe it gives all of your champions like 10 stress healing and 25% health, I think. We'll find out when I actually do that. Second priority is torches, because I want to keep the lights on as much as I can. And generally, I'll go a little bit overboard on torches, just because I'm super paranoid about darkness in general. I try to keep the lights on at maximum, even though there are some benefits to having lower light levels. There's also some combat detriments, such as enemies being more likely to hit you and dealing higher damage to you. It's very dangerous.
In the leg of a dead rat.
In darkness, both you and your enemies are more likely to surprise each other, which can be really good for you, but if you get surprised and your party is not able to deal significant damage with their positions being switched around, it's just not worth it. Now, based on all of the dungeons I've run so far, the boss in an encounter is at the furthest... Oh my goodness. What I was saying is that the boss is usually at the furthest point from your starting place. Now, usually I would be at least a little bit lucky, and there would be rooms that would branch off, and my direct path from start to finish would be much shorter. This looks like the most hellish setup I've ever seen, because if I am right, I'm going to have to go through every single room in this medium-length dungeon to get to the boss, and that does not leave me optimistic about the success of this mission. So I'm unlucky off the bat, because my backliner got thrown to the front, and my frontliner got thrown to the very back, and the Hellion is probably going to be completely useless there. Thankfully, the Arbalest can use her her blind fire, and she's pretty much guaranteed to hit somebody, so at least we have that. I'm going to start off using Blight because I have that increased Blight chance from the trinket I've got on my Plague Doctor. Yeah, this is useless. She cannot do anything here, and it is going to take her 3 turns to move to the front. You see, this is just the game spinning in my face because it freaking does that. I really enjoy the debuff that the Man-at-Arms has because it hits all targets. It only deals a little bit of damage. Usually it will deal 0 to 1 damage. Yes, it will deal 0 damage quite frequently. And it will usually successfully debuff all the targets with lowered dodge ability and lowered speed, which is very useful. But because there's not 4 targets, that makes it 25% less effective, potentially. So I'm just going to use a regular attack on this.
Confidence surges as the enemy crumbles.
It's a decent start to be sure. So because she can actually attack, and I always start the Arbalest off using blind fire anyway, I'm just going to have her do that. Not very accurate, unfortunately, not that time. I hate Bone Courtiers because that little goblet ability can deal up to 20 stress damage in one shot, which means that if you are unlucky, your character will just freak out in 5 hits, which sounds like a lot, but when there's a lot of Bone Courtiers in one dungeon, the odds of that happening go up pretty quickly, so you have to deal with them very quickly unless you are prepared to deal with all the stress that they might. So here's something I'm not clear on, because it doesn't say that there's a damage modifier here. Maybe that means it acts like a regular hit, and it does bleed in addition to that. Now, the reason I'm hesitant is because you can't cause skeletons to bleed. I can cause humans to bleed, but not unholy, because the Bone Courtier doesn't have blood. Yes, okay, it's a regular strike that just has bleed in addition. So I did get some use out of her, which is good. And then this last guy should be pretty quick to handle. Go ahead, Blind Fire, and I know it's going to target him since he's the only one there. Man-at-Arms doing solid damage as usual. And now she can't hit anything because if it bleeds, only hits the 2 middle targets. Well, one of the 2 middle targets. I'm just going to move her up again. Not that I'm going to have a chance to properly use her before I kill this guy. He's going to die on his next turn no matter what, because he has Blight damage for 3 damage, and he only has 2 health. Blight and Bleed always apply before the character that's suffering them gets to actually take their turn. The damage over time abilities happen at the very beginning of their turn. They also stack indefinitely, which I found to be extremely useful against bosses, and that's going to make my precious Plague Doctor very valuable in the coming days. Let me make sure I've got these 2 in the right position. Yeah, okay, those 2 are kind of interchangeable because they're both most effective at first and second. Like I said, I want to keep the lights on at maximum all the time. No enemies here, getting off easy. Scouting, that's another reason I love to have the lights on, is because you have a high scouting chance. The Grail icon tells me that there's going to be a treasure chest of some sort, which also guarantees a 4 enemy fight, or 3 enemy if an enemy is large and takes up 2 spaces. I have learned to ignore the books, because usually if you get a positive effect from the books, it's not going to be very useful. But if you get a negative effect, you could wind up with a negative trait, and I'm not sure if it's 50-50. I think you're more likely to get a negative effect from books. You can opt to use a torch on them and burn them, but often that will actually result in the hero suffering massive, massive stress gains. The last time I burned books, my hero suffered 25 stress, I believe, which is just nasty. Crates usually are good. Crates will usually just give you loot of some kind. I got a couple deeds here, so I can use those for building buildings back at the camp, back at the town. Another torch. I'm really glad I brought all this food and all these torches, knowing how many rooms I have to go through here. This is going to be a very painful run. Alright, so only one of those courtiers, but he crit my poor Arbalest, and now she is already at over 60 stress. Truly nasty, and she doesn't have that much health left. I'm just not a fan of that. So let's do a Bellow here. I dealt no damage, but I debuffed all of them, so I'm more likely to hit all of them, and they are going to have less speed, which is going to be very useful. Hellion dealing solid damage there for the single hit kill. Always start off with a Blind Fire, because I love Blind Fire. Bump in the Night is your basic straight damage attack with no side effects. Not very threatening, but my Man-at-Arms dodged that anyway. Okay, now let's get this. Well, no, the Courtier suffering 3 blight damage and only has 3 health, so it's guaranteed dead. Bone Rabble only has 4 health, but I'm more likely to deal. I'm guaranteed to deal more than 4 health, basically. Well, let's go for the Arbalest. Yep, that's a solid hit. And then let's finish off the Bone Rabble with this. Nope, not going to happen. Alright, how about you, Hellion? There we go. Alright, Arbalest is going to get one more shot. That's okay. No bleed effects on the bait and jab, so that's good.
Perhaps the turning point.
This was a very, very easy fight. Because I have all 4 of my heroes ready to go, I'm going to bank on the decreased speed of this Arbalest, meaning that I'm going to kill it without my Arbalest firing at it, so I'm going to take this opportunity to heal up. Because you can't actually do this outside of combat. So if you know that you're going to take out the last enemy, before the enemy gets a shot, then it's good to use
This
whatever healing
expedition
skills you
at least
can,
promises
just so that you have a
success.
slight advantage moving forward. See some sort of holy fountain here. Propitiations. Oh good, I stole, but it's not stealing because this is a dungeon and it's a free-for-all. Okay, so my scouting just revealed that I've got 2 battles coming up to the room, but the room itself is empty. That's what that icon means. There's absolutely nothing in that room. The blue icon means that there's loot. And this tool over here decided that he was going to loot it no matter what. There are some characters with some traits that will rush to take loot before you have a chance to loot it, and then they will keep whatever is inside for themselves. And that's a particularly devastating feeling. That truly sucks. Now, I really want to get rid of that courtier as fast as I possibly can, so I'm just going to blight him right off the bat. The blight would guarantee his death by itself, but I don't want to give him the chance to deal 23 freaking stress to my heroes repeatedly. Gosh darn, that's a lot. Not a fan of the bleed effect here, but that's okay. Dodges happen. An unfortunate truth. Let's get you out of here. Alright, he's guaranteed dead before he gets to go again, so that's good. Blank fire. Oh, well, darn, that was kind of a waste. Other than the bonus speed. That's the nice thing about blank fire. And look, she gets to go first because of the bonus speed. Very useful ability. Definitely my favorite. The bleeds are stacking up on my Hellion, which is really bad. I don't have the bleed cure on my Plague Doctor, which is unfortunate because that would come in very handy right now. However, I can make the enemies bleed if he actually hits them. Okay, resisted that bleed, so that's good. Get rid of this cultist. 12 health is a decent amount because it's not likely that you're going to be able to take out an enemy with 12 health in 2 hits early on. There's just not that many characters that deal that much damage in single shots without some measure of preparation first. And he's got 2 health left, but... Oh my gosh, you useless Plague Doctor. I think he only hit once at the beginning. Oh, I forgot that my Hellion has Adrenaline Rush. So I can buff her with bonus damage and accuracy and cure the bleed. I could have done that a couple of turns ago, so that was definitely a mistake on my part. But we're moving on, mostly
A trifling
unscathed.
victory, but a victory nonetheless.
Okay, I'm going to make sure the torch is all the way up before I get into this next fight. Spiders are annoying because they're easy to kill, but they're also very fast. And the green ones are liable to cause blight. Obviously, you can see that the orange ones can cause stun. Oh no, look, the orange ones cause stun too. Okay. That's not okay. Because this room is empty, I'm going to go ahead and use Barbaric Yop. So Barbaric Yop hits the front 2 targets. It is very likely to stun, it deals no damage, and it debuffs the Hellion, but I'm probably going to have that debuff removed before I get her into combat again, so that's okay.
Be gone, fiend.
Man-at-Arms one-shots the Spitter, very effective. He even had a little bit of stress recovery from killing him in one shot there. And because these poor saps are stunned, they're not going to be able to move for one more turn. Gives me just a little bit of time to do whatever I want. Swing and a miss on the stunned target, because that makes sense, right? Oh, I hate when I leave enemies with 1 health. It's truly nasty. 1 gun. And, you know, just because his speed is so high, let's see here. Speed is 0. Speed is 3. Speed is 3. Speed is 9. Alright, I'm just going to finish this guy up right now. No, I'm not. Just kidding. There we go. Moving on.
These nightmarish creatures can be
Very
felled.
rewarding.
They can be beaten.
I haven't gotten a debuff stone before, so that's a very useful trinket. That's going to come in handy. Especially on the Men-at-Arms. Man, can you imagine putting a 10% bonus to debuff on a hero that hits all 4 enemies with a debuff? Very useful. Doesn't look like I've got any fights coming up here. My scouting chance has really paid off. Keeping the torch at maximum has really paid off, because I can see everything that's coming up in the next few rooms. Gives me lots of time to plan my strategy and anticipate what's coming up. Nothing in here, no reason to be here. Let's move on. There is going to be a fight in here, and stupid Man-at-Arms feels the need to loot again, but at least he didn't take it for himself. This is where I'm going to regret not having a shovel.
Even the cold stone seems
So if you don't have a
bent on
shovel,
preventing
then
passage.
your characters take stress damage. They take a little bit of health damage, and the torchlight goes down significantly, presumably because it takes a long time for people to dig away at stone with their bare freaking hands. Not good. Okay, I'm going to fill up my Hellion before we go in here. Alright, let's see what I can do here. The darn courtier gets to go first, but at least he hit the best target he could possibly hit. You know, I'm going to open with a stun here. And it's going to be largely successful. Excellent. I will take the debuff because she has an ability that will buff her damage back up. She just won't be able to dodge whatsoever. And let's blank these 2 suckers in the back. Of course the courtier resists that. Neither of them got to go, so that's good. Let's use a bellow here, debuff all of them. 2 debuffs. Ah. Open with Blind Fire Arbalist. Solid hit. And she immediately gets to go again. So let's see if we can finish off this Acolyte. Yes! Perfect shot. We'll get rid of this courtier. Not happening. Come on. I hate these guys. This
Injury and despondence
dang it.
set the stage for heroism.
Irrational. Great.
Or
So
cowardice.
he's just going to. What the? What? Okay, that was gross. Who would want gangrene on their feet? That's disgusting. Alright, I'm really ticked off at this courtier now, because I was really hoping I wouldn't have to deal with a stress condition this early on. Alright, cure yourself with the blight, or the bleeding, I should say. The blight is indicated by the green tears, and the bleeding is indicated by the red tears, just in case you were wondering. Come on, Plague. Alright. Yes! Yes! Get rid of him. Tiny bit of stress healing. Decent, not significant. And then the 2 beefy guys with a bunch of health on the front lines, of course. Alright, so she's at death's door.
A hand's breadth from becoming unwound.
Oh, it's not over. It's okay. You're going to make it. Their stun buff, their resistance to stun buff is gone. So let's try a stun here. Very effective. Very good.
A devastating blow.
Absolutely love the crits. Man-at-Arms is absolutely one of my favorites. He takes so much damage, he deals so much direct damage, and while his positioning is limited, you don't usually find yourself being forced to move. This guy is obsessed with gangrene, I swear. This is why I hate stress conditions, because they will talk. They will just flap their lips a ton, and they'll increase everybody else's stress in the process. It's really awful. Shut up! Stop increasing everybody else's
As
stress.
victories mount, so
Okay,
too
great.
will
I can use
resistance.
this bandage on my Man-at-Arms to get rid of that bleeding. Great timing on that. What's coming up here? I don't have scouting on the rooms ahead, so I might have a fight ahead of me, but I think I can handle it. And I don't have any guaranteed fights in between the other 2. Ooh, some loot in the sarcophagus. Very nice. Obviously, that's a pitiful amount of gold, but the 2 busts is good. Busts are always good. Let's move on, shall we? More loot from the box. 2 more busts. The game kind of hands out these things like candy. Oh no! No! Claustrophobia. Oh, I'm amazed that's all she suffered, considering that was an Iron Maiden. Let's see what that trait does. Severe fear of enclosed spaces. I see. The game will describe these traits to you, but it won't tell you what exactly they do. There are some that have numerical values attached to them, like hemophilia, so she's more likely to bleed. But then I have no idea how claustrophobia is going to affect her at all. Maybe when
the match is struck.
When she's walking backwards, because your party can walk backwards. If you want to move to the room behind you, but you haven't gotten to the other room yet, that can happen. Okay, so I surprised my enemy. Extremely good. So they're already sort of stunned because they're surprised. I get to move all of my heroes before any of them get to move. It's like a basic round starts after I move all of mine.
Executed
Excellent.
with impunity.
Excellent one-hit kill. I need to see more of that. Good blight. It's not going to kill him, but it's going to help. Random shot for a decent amount of damage on the same target. Excellent. Boom! Another one-hit kill. Come on. Alright, so they're faster than my party, so one of them gets to go first. Oh. Okay, let's finish these guys off. I'm going to have to make camp soon, very soon. He's going for my man-at-arms, good. I want to see him tank some of that damage because he has all this health. You really need to chill out, Plague Doctor. Alright, another fight over.
Remind yourself
Some
that
good rewards from the
overconfidence
corpses.
is a slow and
the
insidious killer.
sarcophagus has nothing inside of it, which is unfortunate. Ooh, good, scouting. You know, I haven't figured out what this icon means yet. It looks like a treasure chest, so I guess that's kind of guaranteeing that there's loot inside the objects that's present, but it also guarantees that there's going to be a fight. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 more rooms. This run is probably not going to end in a success. Given the state of my party, I'm going to go ahead and make camp here, and now I can demonstrate to you how camping works.
Gathered close in tenuous firelight.
So, depending on how much food you have available, these options will be ready for you. If you have no food, your heroes will starve, and the effects are obviously terrible. Whereas if you have 8 food to spare, everybody does heal for 25% and loses 10 stress. Very useful. Oh my gosh, you stupid... see, because my Plague Doctor had Irrational, he has the stress condition, he completely rejected the healing. So, that was nasty. And he will just like straight up reject healing every now and then, because that's what you do with a stress condition. So what I need to figure out now is what would be most effective to use. I have 12 time, and each of my camping abilities will take a certain amount of time. Now, Arbalest has Triage, which heals all companions, meaning everybody except for her, for 15%. And the stupid freaking Plague Doctor rejects the healing again. You see why this is such a disaster? Well, let's see here. Come on, I need to heal you. That's right. Heal yourself. Good. Oh, hey, that actually... yeah, that did repair some of his stress, so that's good. And then I've got 3 more time, so I can choose to use a 2 or a 3 time cost. There are some that have 4 time costs, there's not very many of them. I just need to figure out what the best move is going to be here. I think it's going to be this one, because Arbalest does deal quite a bit of damage, and all of her abilities are ranged. I'm not particularly sure exactly how long that buff will last for, so I guess we're going to find out. Okay, let's march onward. So now that I know that my run is probably not going to succeed just because there's so much space between me and the boss, and I've already used my camping, I I have to kind of consider things a bit differently. My mentality can't really be about finishing this run anymore. It needs to be about getting as far as I can without losing anybody. Solid Blight to start off the fight, blighting both of the enemies in back. That's exactly what I would have asked for. Start off by stunning the two in
singular
front.
strike.
Excellent. So now I can just worry about the squishies for now. And he's going to hit the person with the least amount of stress, so that's good. Quarrel usually does pretty reliable damage. It's just nasty because it's ranged, but it doesn't have any side effects, so that's not terrible. Essentially, every enemy has one of those abilities that will not have any side effects, but it also depends on the position they're in. So what the game doesn't tell you is that enemies will use different abilities based on their position. So the courtiers use the goblet when they're in back, but if they're in front, they'll use a knife instead, which doesn't inflict stress the way the goblet does. Arbalest is doomed because he's got blight and he only has 1 health. Man-at-Arms doing pathetically low damage. Let's get some blight on the Bone Soldier. He resisted, but it didn't matter. It probably wouldn't have mattered anyway because he had too much health for the blights to finish him off quickly. Unfortunate stun from the Bone Defender. I still have to worry about the Arbalest because he is going to die before he gets a shot. So I can either Blind Fire and have a 50% chance of doing some actual damage, or I can heal just a little bit. Oh wait, Rallying Flare clears stun. That's extremely useful. I'm just going to do that instead. So stun cleared plus a little buff. She's a little bit faster and has a better chance of dodging. Well, let's get rid of this beefy bastard as fast as we can. Stop with the gangrene, Plague Doctor. Seriously, nobody wants to hear it. The painful thing about stress conditions is that once your hero has one, it never goes away until you get back to town and you actually have them healed. It's not enough to just leave them back at town. They will hold on to that stress condition until you put them away in the Abbey or the Tavern.
Otherworldly corruption.
Of course the box is trapped. Darn it. I thought for sure there was going to be loot in that box. Okay, I've got a lucky couple of rooms ahead of me because there's only 1 fight guaranteed. There's 1 trap, which you can see in the purple spider web, but that's usually not a big deal at all. Stupid Arbalest trait.
Wealth beyond measure.
Okay, so there's a move charm.
Awarded to the brave
which
and the
I already have
foolhardy
one, and I
alike.
hardly ever use these things because enemy moves that force your characters to move are very uncommon. So I'm probably just going to sell that for a little bit of extra gold. Some loot in the Iron Maiden cut pretty lucky there. Even though it was 1 resource, it was worth checking out. Still got plenty of torches. Glad I brought so many of these. I think I also got one as loot earlier. And I'm almost to the end. You know, my party is doing pretty well. I might still risk... Oh my goodness. I might still risk fighting the boss. I'm kind of ticked off at my Men-at-Arms because curiosity got the best of him, and he checked out the trapped box, which I probably would have checked out on my own anyway, so I can't necessarily blame him, but it's still kind of irritating to have that sort of thing happen. It really adds flavor to the fact that your heroes are suffering from these negative traits that they get from delving into these dungeons. Alright, these guys are tearing me a new one though. This is really bad. If I keep taking damage like this, there's really no chance that I'm going to be able to take out the boss. I'm going to have to get pretty lucky moving forward. Like that. That's the kind of luck I need. Open with the Blind Fire. Not the target I wanted to hit, but it was still worth it for the buff. The way things are going, it sure looks like all of my heroes are going to suffer a stress trait because all 3 of the heroes that are not yet at 100 stress are pretty high up because he won't shut his gosh darn mouth. He just keeps talking and talking and talking and stressing everybody else out. Okay. That wasn't going to be bad until the bleed happened. Another solid miss, good. And thankfully I can just cure that bleed because Hellions are awesome. Alright, come on, Man-at-Arms. Need you to do some work. That was decent. I think I can take him out. Yep. The tanks are always annoying just because they will just wail on you and wail on you and wail on you while you're not getting anything done. But I can make him bleed, so at least I've got that going for me. Or I would be able to make him bleed if I actually had him succeed at his attempt. I'm really curious to see if I'm going to be able to make it to the boss, period. Because it's looking really bad. I am running very low on food. I only have 2 more pieces left.
Prodigious size
Solid
alone
hit.
does not dissuade the sharpened
And
blade.
Death's Door, as well as stress conditions, are basically guaranteed at this point. Okay, there's some food, so now I can stave off hunger for everybody here and restore just a little bit of health. I think I'm going to save the other pieces of food for anything bad that might happen between here and the boss. It's offering me a shovel, but I don't think I'm going to encounter another obstacle, so I'm going to ignore that. Yep, trap disarm, so a little bit of stress healing for him, which is not bad. There is not going to be a fight in here, so that's good. Okay, only 2 more rooms, and it's telling me there is no fight in the second room. Okay, so, you know, it's really risky, but the rewards for beating a boss mission are fantastic. Not to mention that you have to beat the boss mission. Shoot. I saw it just barely too late.
Invention.
You have to beat the boss missions in order to move on. Oh, no. You know what?
The walls close in. The shadows whisper of conspiracy.
Man, but you know, I still have to try. Okay, how much have I invested in these guys? She's fresh blood. He's fresh blood. He's fresh blood. And she's a rank 1. So I would be losing some actual effort if I lost this Arbalest. But, see, this is what this game does to you. It gets you close to finishing, and it's just everything is so well gauged as to challenge you so intensely. I'm going to go for it. I really am. And,
mechanical hazards
got to be kidding me.
possessed by evil intent.
I'm out of food. I'm out of food, and he's at 160 stress. You know what? I can't do it. I'm going to grab that loot, and I'm going to back out before I go into the boss room, because this run is over. It's just not going to work. And, of course, I just get... Oh my gosh. Alright, so she was virtuous, which was nice, but it doesn't matter.
Clarity in the eye of the storm.
I'm screwed. I have no more healing. But it also wasn't a bust, because while I didn't even get into the boss room, I still got a ton of rewards. So let's go ahead and retreat here. It tries to ward you off from retreating, knowing that your heroes are going to suffer increased stress, but your heroes will never die from it, from what I've seen.
A setback.
So I'm missing out on the quest rewards from bailing on this, but I got some pretty significant gold. In fact, I got almost as much gold as I would have gotten if I had actually completed the quest. And then look at all the heirlooms I got. This is where you decide, okay, you know what, I had to leave, I had to escape, but it was still a success because I have all of this progression that cannot be taken away from me because my buildings won't ever be downgraded or destroyed. And then on the summary screen, it's going to tell me that nobody got any Resolve XP because we didn't actually complete the mission. I suffered a couple of negative traits as a result of finishing, and Dastain, my man-at-arms, actually got a positive trait, which is going to give him bonus speed on the first round, which is very
remember days when the sun shone and
but
laughter could be heard
overall,
from the tavern.
that was not good. That was pretty terrible. That's why this is a progress report and not my intermediate video, because while I've learned a lot, I don't feel as if I've made enough progress to say that I'm at an intermediate level where the game is concerned. Thus, I'm also not willing to yet set a concrete goal, even though I think the game is basically telling me what that concrete goal is going to be via the caretaker goals that are indicated here. Still, I'm not going to say what that's going to be for now. And until next time, this is Rock of Ethereal, signing off.